Hi, class. This is going to be a very brief lesson on the number line. This is module 1, lesson 1. Okay, the number line. Let's pull up a handy dandy whiteboard here. Sweet. Okay, so when we talk about the number line in mathematics, it's simply a line, and it's usually seen as a horizontal line. By horizontal, I mean it's flat. It goes left to right. And we'll have a point 0 here. We'll have an arrow here, meaning it's going to go on and on and on. And then I'm just going to draw some dashes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a number line. This is a number line that has all the, what are they called? All the whole numbers on it, meaning, or forgive me, all the natural numbers on it. Natural numbers are all the whole numbers that go from 0 all the way up to infinity. There's also numbers in between these numbers. It's like if I were to draw a line there, we can say that that's 4.5, like 4.5, right? So we have what are called rational numbers on here too. We also, meaning that they are numbers that can be expressed as a ratio between two whole numbers. But let me not go down that rabbit hole. Sorry, I'm going on nutty professor on you. Let's just wrestle with the idea of a number line. 0 all the way up to 5. If this were a football field, we could go all the way up to 50, right? And that's the midpoint of the football field. That's an example of a number line. There's a whole nother part here, which is what the lesson really digs into, which are the negative numbers. So from left to right, we have positive numbers as left to right to 0, but from right to left, we have the negative numbers. And they start at -1 and they go downward from there. I know that's tricky to think about because it seems like the numbers are going up because the numbers are getting bigger, but they're actually going to the left. And we oftentimes associate that with going down. They're getting less. We'll talk about that later too. Okay, this is an example of a horizontal number line. This is usually what we're going to see. Sometimes though, it's much more accessible if we think about it vertically, because we're used to seeing vertical number lines. And by vertical, I mean up and, that's not a very good line. I mean up and down, right? So let's pretend that that's a straight line. It goes all the way up here and all the way up here. And then this is our 0. Maybe 5 is here. And -5 is here. And we can be here on the number line. Let's say that's 3. We can be here on the number line. Let's say that's -6. And this is something that we're really accustomed to seeing. We've seen this before. Could be a thermostat, a word that I can't spell. I don't know why. Maybe I spelled it right. A thermostat measures how hot or cold the atmosphere is or the room is. So if it's 40 degrees, the thermostat would be way up here. If it's -20 degrees, it would be way down here. We've also seen this if it's measuring altitude or under the water. I don't know what that's called, under the water. So in this case, if 0, we could call that sea level, right? And if we're going to dive down, we're going to dive down 5 feet, we would be at -5. If we're going to jump up, we're going to jump up 5 feet and be at +5. All right. That is the basics of a number line. I think sometimes people get confused because, let me just clear this really quick. We are used to sometimes a football field will be really confusing, because in a football field, 50 is in the middle. And then it goes down from 50 to 0, which is the end zone, and down from 50 to 0, which is the end zone. But in mathematics, we don't do this. We take the zeros and we drop them in the middle. And the 50s go on the outside. So in mathematics, this is the way I want us to think about it. We have 0 in the middle. We have negative 50 to the left. We have positive 50 to the right. That is what a number line with negative numbers is all about. All right. Okay, so some vocabulary that's really, really important. I want to erase all of that. Let me just get rid of this guy here. This vocabulary is going to help you through the assignment. Thanks. There's a word that we use, we're very used to using it, called opposite. We know that the opposite of left is right. The opposite of up is down. The opposite of no is yes. I can't really think of anything else. But we have opposites in mathematics. It means something very, very specific. And that's this. The opposite of a number like 3 is whatever number is to the left or to the right of it, if we're already on the left, the same distance from 0. So how far is 3 from 0? It's 3 units, right? That's why we call it 3. So if we go to the left, a distance of 3, where does that put us? It puts us at negative 3. So the opposite of 3 is negative 3. The opposite of negative 3 is positive 3. Crazy, right? So I'm going to write that down so you can see it. The opposite of 4 is negative 4. The opposite of negative 4 is positive 4. All right? So the opposite of any number is that number negative. So, or the opposite of any negative number is that number positive. Okay, that's what opposite's all about. Distance. Ready for this? All right, let's go back to our vertical number line, our up and down number line. Because sometimes it's easier to understand. When we talk about the distance between two numbers, I'm so not good at drawing that. I should just use one from the internet. I'm stubborn. Okay, so here's my vertical number line if we were measuring something like temperature, or if we were measuring something like sea level versus altitude, right? Altitude being how high off the ground you are. But let's say we're looking at temperature and we're at positive 10 over here and negative 5 over here. Okay, so how far apart are 10 and negative 5? We have 10 units here. So the distance 10 is from 0 is 10. And this distance 0 is from negative 5 is 5. So the distance from 10 to negative 5, if I add up those two distances, I'm at 15. So it's this idea here that I want to call your attention to. My position on the number line is negative 5, but the distance, I'm not going to call it negative. I'm going to call it just 5. For all intents and purposes, it's positive. But you will always talk about distance or change in terms of a positive number. regardless of where it is on the number line. So if I just do a makeshift one right here, here's 0, here's -10. If I say, hey, how far is -10 from 0? Well, it's 10 units far. I wouldn't say it's -10 units far. It's just 10 units far. And we have a word for that in mathematics. Kind of, we may call it a function even. It's called the absolute value of a number. Is its distance from 0. All right. So the absolute value of a number is its distance from 0, and it will always be expressed as a positive number. It'll never be a negative number. And did I want to erase that? I don't know if I want to erase that just yet. And we have some notation that we use for that. And it's absolute value bars, and they look like this. Let me erase some of this stuff so we can see it a little bit more clearly. So the absolute value bars look like this. And any number that goes inside of it is always going to equal a positive number. So the absolute value, those are the numbers in between these two bars, is +9. The absolute value of +9, it's still +9. It doesn't turn it to the opposite. It just makes it positive. That's what opposite is all about. Okay, so that's what absolute value is. We covered what an opposite is, what distance is, absolute value, which is tied into distance. Okay, now greater than or less than. Now, if I were to tell you, hey, I have a credit card debt, oh man, of $1,000. -1,000. And I have $10 in my bank account. $10. Picture not to scale, mind you. Which is greater? The debt of $1,000 or the $10 in my bank account? Okay. In terms of mathematics, right? So if we're just hanging out on the street, I'm going to speak casually and I'm going to say, well, you got more debt than you do cash. Sorry, buddy, right? Your debt's greater. You can make an argument that that's right. But in mathematics, when we're in an academic, we're in the classroom, we always talk about greater than or less than in terms of which is further to the right. Which is further to the right on the number line. So a number is greater than another number if the original number is further to the right on the number line. Right. So 10, I'm going to use a symbol here that you may or may not know. 10 is greater than -1,000. And this symbol that you just saw in the middle of between those two numbers is the greater than symbol, all right? Which it's like a sideways V and it's opening to the left, and we read that greater than. If it was opening the other way, we would call it less than. The easiest thing to remember about this is if this were a duck, it wants to eat the bigger number. It wants to eat the number further to the right on the number line. Okay, but you're like, hey, this still isn't really gelling because the -$1,000 still feels bigger. I get it. I kind of agree with you. That's where our use of the word absolute value comes in. So in the academic arena, I can say, well, the absolute value of -1,000 is greater than the absolute value or the number 10. And it's true. Its distance from 0 is much greater than 10. Okay, that was fast and furious. I'm sure you all have a lot of questions. that was just meant to kind of orient you to the assignment, which we'll take a look at now, okay? I'm just gonna clear this and very quickly, we'll write up the words that we learned today. We learned opposite. The opposite of -3 is +3. The opposite of +3 is -3. The opposite of -3 is +3. We talked about distance, how it's always expressed as a positive number, and how we do that in mathematics is by employing the absolute value sign, those two bars, and how that is different than when we're actually talking about greater than or less than, which means something very specific, right? Greater than implies that it's further to the right on the number line, regardless of its absolute value. All right, let's stop all this silly chatter and take a look at, I'm looking to my right because that's where my canvas lives, okay? It's on a different screen. So it's not, I'm not losing my mind. I might be losing my mind, but it's not because I'm looking to the right. Okay, let's stop share. Share screen. Boom. Boom. Okay. Unit 1, lesson 1. I can't tell if we're looking at the right screen or not. Sorry. Screen 2. Boom. Oh, I guess we are. All right, unit 1, lesson 1, extending the number line. You're going to read all this. Before you do that, you're going to click share. And you're going to type my email address in that window, okay? And then you're going to say done. That way I have it and I can look at it. And there's one more step to actually get credit for the assignment in terms of how you have to work Canvas. But we'll do that in a second. You're going to read all this good stuff. They're going to explain it much better than I just did. You're going to type in the box the question above. What kind of negative numbers have I seen in my life? We talked about a few of them a second ago, okay? Which number is larger, -100 or -101? We talked about greater than or less than in the lesson just a second ago, right? So which one's further to the right? Which one does the duck want to eat? This is going to explain opposites to you. We talked about that. Show the whole number 5 as a rational number. That's kind of silly. Okay, and I think read it. There's more. Answer it. You guys got this. Let me oops. I'm on the wrong course. Sorry. Please hold. I think we may have to have a student join me for the next one because I feel like this is a little crazy to be doing by myself, but whatever. Modules. And then we're going to take a look at, these are our assignments. We just did module 1, lesson 1, extending the number line. And so once you've done that assignment and you finished it, this is what your page is going to look like. This is how you actually turn it in, okay? You hit start assignment. If you've shared it with me on the Google Doc, if you've already shared it, you can just paste the link. You can literally copy that guy, Control C, or Control C, and then you hit Control V, or whatever, however you like to copy and paste. You can use the mouse, and that's and then you submit assignment right there. If for whatever reason that you don't like doing, the other option is to hit file here, download as a PDF. Look what happens when I do that. It comes down here on my screen. I can upload file, choose, and I could input it right there, and I can submit it that way too. Okay, so there's two options for you. So exciting. Let's go back to our course here. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. So remember how these are graded? These three guides are graded for completion and completion only. And then we have the quizzes. The quizzes, there's no points associated with them, okay? So you don't, if you didn't do a single quiz, you could still, in theory, pass the class, but I am going to give you extra credit. So you might as well give it a go, and I'm going to do them with you right now. So if you've been following along, if you're done with both assignments, that's fantastic. Do the quiz now. Pause the video, do the quiz, do your best, and then press play, and I'm going to do them, okay? So go away and then come back. I'm going to give it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go away. Okay, so now you're back. And now I'm going to show you actually what the answers to the quizzes are. So if you missed the quiz problems, just go back and change them. But if you don't understand it still after you see my explanation, then you definitely want to shoot me an email and say, I didn't get question number 2. I missed it. I didn't get your explanation of it. I need help. And we'll dive in and we'll figure out what's going on. All right. Okay. Question number 1. Opposite numbers on the number line are the exact same distance from 0. For instance, 5 and -5 are opposite numbers. If I add 5 plus -5, what is the solution? Yeah, where the next assignment over is going to be a big kind of dive into this. But basically, this question is asking if you haven't already kind of intuitively figured it out. If I have $5, I'm going to write this for you in a very specific way. If I have $5, right? Let's pretend that those are $1 bills. And then this symbol means that I'm taking away a dollar bill. That's the -5. So here's 5 units of a positive thing. Here's 5 units of a negative thing. One unit, negative unit, this is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. I'm left with a big old 0. All right. So a number plus its opposite is always going to be 0. 5 minus 5 is 0. 5 plus -5 is 0. All right. Sweet. And again, I feel like I might have brushed over that a little bit quickly, but in truth, we're going to really do a deep dive on that in the next lesson. All right. If I win 5 points in a game and then lose 7, am I in the negative or positive numbers? All right. So let's take a look at what that might be all about. I'm going to draw a vertical number line because sometimes it's easier to look at. Here's 5. So here's where I am, right? If I lose 7, well, if I lose 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm at 0. And then if I lose 2 more, oh gosh, 1, 2, there's my 7-point change. And what number does that leave me at? It leaves me at -2 because the 7 is bigger than the +5, right? If I use the example that we used for the first one, I have, I win 5. I lose 7. These 5 go to 0. And I'm left with 2 negatives. So it's a negative number. Okay. If my checking account is overdrawn by $5 and then I deposit 6, am I in the positive or the negative? I don't know. Yeah, I really need a student here because I feel like I'm getting weird. Okay, well, let's look at it. Same problem, different set of numbers. Only this time I'm at the -5. I've overdrawn my account by $5. To get to 0, I need a positive change of 5. I'm going to have 1 left over because the answer's because I have 6 going in. But here's my 1. That whole distance is 6. If I use the example I showed a second ago, I'm overdrawn by 5. That suggests negative, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I deposited $6 as a positive addition. These guys are all 0, and I'm left with 1 positive sign. So the answer is positive. Okay. Question number 4, and then question number 5, and I will be done. If the temperature was -10 degrees Fahrenheit and warmed up to +10 degrees Fahrenheit, how many degrees did the temperature change? Well, first of all, here's that word change, right? So we know our answer is going to be positive because we always express change and distance as positive numbers. So the temperature was -10 degrees. And warmed up to +10 degrees. So I have 10 units from 0 here. I have another 10 units from 0 here. All in all, that's going to give me 20 units. I told you I'm giving all the answers, okay? So by the time, if you're worried about your grade, you can accrue all these extra credit points, and then the test at the end isn't gonna matter as much as it normally would. I really want you to learn the material, but I also don't want you to be stressed out about your grades and your units. As long as you're engaging with the material, you're learning something, you're gonna get through the course. All right, question number 5. The temperature was -35 degrees and dropped -10 degrees. What was the new temperature? You know what's funny? I think that this is sort of a typo on this question, which I don't want to get into too thoroughly, but hold on. Let me see. It won't let me do it. Never mind. Look, even if the oh wait, it did. Okay. So they want you to put the F there in order for it to be correct, which is silly. I'm going to look at these quizzes, so I would have given you the correct answer if you had just said -45. This question dropped and the negative, they mean the same thing, and it's redundant. You wouldn't say drop -10 degrees. You might say drop to -10, but you wouldn't say this is just not correct math English grammar. That negative sign shouldn't be there. I'll change it, but if you're looking at the video, it's don't ignore that negative sign. So the temperature was -35 degrees. So I'm going to draw my little thermostat. If you notice, I'm putting 0 way up high here because we're dealing only in negative numbers. Here's 35. It dropped, meaning it went down a distance of 10 more. So what would that be? Well, 35, it dropped 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. All right, and am I in the negative or the positive? Well, I'm underneath the 0. So that would mean I'm in the negative, negative 45. And they want me to put the units too. So I'm going to draw an F there. Okay, that's it. Completo, no más. Stop share. Cool, guys. So if you notice, I didn't do the practice with you. I want you to try to tackle that on your own. If you would like to reach out for help, of course, I'm available to you. And as a reminder, I know for most of you, with one exception, Canvas is telling you that our class times are 9:30 to 10:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And that is true. Our class time is 9:30 to 10:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I'm also available to you Wednesdays 12 to 1 and Monday, Wednesdays 12 to 1. So you have 4 hours that you can choose from. You can come to all of them. You can come to none of them and just watch the videos. That's fine. And I will also have office hours on Friday, but not this Friday. Sorry. All right. Mr. Mike signing off. It didn't work. It didn't stop. I didn't do it right. Try that again. Mr. Mike signing off.